Validating endlessly in like a weird circle jerk is not how to progress or live life or get happy. Stop talking about your story, Meg. Nobody cares anymore. Just wait. Meghan Markle has already claimed none of these failures were her ideas. Friends said the fruit sauce made them so happy. Some delusional person at Netflix screams, "This is a show!" after seeing her in her kitchen. The poem to Baldy should be a book, and on and on and on. Yes, I think the whole reason why she constantly pushes it off on other people is that insecurity. We have found a common thread, you guys. A huge theme to Meghan Markle is insecurity, followed closely by hypocrisy. Because she can't just own a project and be like, no, I believe in this, which is what she needs to do right now. She needs to communicate to her audience that she believes in these products and that they mean something to her, and it's not just someone else's idea that she's like, okay. Her "I would go grocery shopping if she could go incognito" was copying Catherine. Maybe, but it's also really contradictory, isn't it? Because she also said that she and Harry could go out to eat and stuff. So why aren't you going grocery shopping, Meghan? Go to the freaking store. Is it too much work? Are you busy drinking your wine? Oma Diane says, where were her real friends at her wedding? We see the real you. I've walked into my knowing. And what I know is you're nothing but a two-bit wannabe that never was and never will be. A lot of you have pointed out her whole comment of, I have real friends that I've had since I was 17, has been poked holes in. Not only because we've never seen these people or heard about these people, but also because none of them came to her wedding. She didn't have any friend except Jessica Mulroney at her wedding, really. And the Suits cast, if you could call them friends. They were work friends. Lois says, it would be nice if one interview would make her answer the question. I agree. If she deflects, the interviewer should say, that's not what the question is. Everybody lets her say what she wants. I don't understand it. I think part of it is, in a setting like that, it's difficult to continually ask the same question over and over, and it can really change the tone, and the person can end up ending the interview, and then it can get that person, that journalist, in trouble with their bosses. So they're a little bit in a difficult situation, a rock and a hard place. They have an uncooperative subject who they're interviewing who may or may not answer the questions, and they have bosses who are like, we want this interview, so you have to produce it. You can't be so hardline that you ruin the opportunity. So I think that plays a big role in why we don't get satisfying interviews. But also Meghan just is unwilling to agree to a satisfying interview. I can't help but chuckle when I remember her skipping along on the beach, laughing into the camera. Yeah, 2025 is a significant year, all right, but not in the way she envisioned. Meghan appears to have an amazing capacity to compartmentalize feedback. It's quite breathtaking, but if she doesn't take the feedback on board, she will continue on her current path into oblivion. Self-hypnosis to positivity isn't constructive if it isn't associated with learning. Yes, and also awareness of how that impacts others. Her gurus should be honest with her. All we see is someone who lacks flexibility, insight, and any signs of someone who is capable of achieving the accolades she perceives as due to her. She will go into history as a morality tale if she doesn't fall into obscurity. Very well said. I like the phrase self-hypnosis to positivity. It really feels like that's what it is. Remember the Jamie Kern Lima podcast seemed very much that way. Yes. Validating endlessly in like a weird circle jerk is not how to progress or live life or get happy or manifest something positive for yourself. It's not. You do have to face reality sometimes. You do have to work on yourself and progress and grow. Growth is a good thing. Karen says she will never apologize. She is a narcissist and they are never wrong. Stop expecting an apology. It's true, but even from the perspective of, hey, Meg, this is a PR move that will do you good and gain you some of that positive PR you so desperately want. I think there is a chance that someday she and Harry may issue an apology. Like, it's a slim chance because they're that narcissistic. But even the most narcissistic celebrities who seem to care about absolutely no one else have sometimes apologized for making a mistake when there's no other way out, when they're backed into a corner. Think about ones who have been in lawsuits and stuff like that. Eventually, sometimes they still apologize. Keep in mind that none of this show was her idea, right? She made sure to tell us this on stage. I think Netflix is making her do it. She owes them after all. She doesn't care about any of it because she thinks everyone should simply love her and want to talk about her because she's a duchess. I think she's having a difficult time grasping the obvious. Few like her. I think Netflix is pushing her to push the show. That's why you've seen very little and you never see passion about it. Not real passion, but she tries to act her way through it and she cannot act. That's a fair point. I think that they definitely did say, hey, Meg, we got to get something up and going. We have to, or else this is like dead in the water. So there's a chance that they really did have to work hard and push to get her to start to start doing it. Beth says when she talks about who likes her show, she actually seems a bit hostile. I think she's really, really angry about the reality that no, most do not like her show. Her face is actually a bit scary then. Yeah, I don't think she believes it either. I don't think she actually believes there's a lot of people who like it. I think that she's not really able to convince herself of her own nonsense most of the time. Deco Dolly says, on the topic of her using Instagram while publicly dissing Meta, we know she's utterly hopeless at any kind of due diligence. Does she even realize Instagram is owned by Meta? She has to. Doesn't it show the Meta logo when you open Instagram, I think? I don't hardly ever go on Instagram, but the couple times I have, I think it says Meta, but maybe she's not that detail oriented. Sharon says, what in the actual F does she mean by anchor in your knowing? Can someone please explain this to me? Why she needs to talk like this? Does she think it makes her sound intelligent? It's not working. She probably does think it makes her sound intelligent, but also I think it has more to do with, she and Harry think that they lean into like meditating and being positive and stuff like that, but their actions are very much in contrast of it. I mean, even just sitting around and complaining on live TV about stuff is the opposite of those types of beliefs. And so it's probably just something that she heard someone else say and she's stealing it. You know how she does character trait acquisitions from people that she meets or people that she sees. She mirrors them. So it's probably something she heard someone else say. But her answers to those questions are so pretentious and off-putting. She would have been so much more better off taking a more grounded and realistic approach to what the question was. Like, I think it was the question about owning your own story. Why couldn't she have just said, what would be most refreshing? And the best way to answer it would to just say, at this point, I'm really just focused on my children and raising them in a happy, healthy home and focusing on that. I'm not really concerned about my story and whether or not people know it or who owns it. I'm busy being a mom. Just completely shut that narrative down and close that door. Stop talking about your story, Meg. Nobody cares anymore. Tara Found says, Markle seems very preoccupied with this process of finding your authentic self, and I think it's because it allows her to describe her internal narcissism in a way that sounds virtuous and intellectual. Very good observation. She's describing the process of identifying what you want and then unapologetically seeking that out, but she describes it as an enlightened state of authenticity rather than the reality that sometimes that's not a healthy thing to do because it puts other people in bad situations, or you're using other people because you're so focused on just getting what you want and striving for what you want or what have you. That's a very good point. I'm interested to hear more conversation about that comment in the comments section. Hard disagree. No one should be forced to wear tights or nylons if they don't want to. The texture is horrible against the skin. What nylons are you wearing, girl? Because they are soft if you buy nice ones. I really hate them. That's fine. Some people do. And she would have got a better fit with her clothes wearing a slip sometimes. But if you wear nylons and a slip, you're really going to get the perfect camera finish. Nylons are too tight to hide in any belly button or panty lines. Not control top. Control top have a thicker waistline. A thicker fabric along the waistline material. There's nothing unprofessional about human skin legs. Correct. It's not like she was wearing a mini skirt. She was sometimes. That's a petty thing to criticize her on. I disagree. So here's the thing. There's nothing unprofessional about human skin legs. Fair. But there is something unprofessional about not wearing professional dress. And nylons do lend themselves to professional dress. It's the extended nose tap for me, then staring to the heavens, hoping for some answer to appear. Her words and actions and body language rarely match because she's a phony. Is it just me, or the part where she was asked, how important is it to own your own story? Meghan responded with a whisper voice and a massive smile. It's the most important thing in the whole world. That is a huge exaggeration. The way Meghan constantly breaks eye contact with the interviewer drives me nuts. It's like she figured out the intense "I can see your soul" stare wasn't a good look, so she swung the pendulum to the opposite side. She thinks looking around and moving constantly when she talks makes her look more authentic and natural. I agree completely. But when you are fabricating your stories, you're lying, you're trying to remember your previous lies, or you're making stuff up, you're, being inauthentic, then it's hard to maintain eye contact. And yes, both ends of the spectrum are weird. But I think it speaks to the fact that she's not being perfectly honest, that she has such a hard time just having a normal conversation with someone and looking at them. I sometimes get a little starey and I start analyzing someone's face and eyes and whatnot while I listen to them in conversation. People have told me that it's a little intense, but it's not the way Meghan does, where it's like this blinky, weird, doing this with her head the way she does. That seems very disturbingly strange. I think you are being overly generous when you characterize the things Meghan and Harry have done as mistakes. Mistakes implies a lack of intent, and I firmly believe it was completely intentional. I agree. I'm using mistakes broadly as in errors, things that they did wrong. But I agree that a lot of it was intentional and also done with the knowledge that it would hurt their family or that there would be collateral damage and fallout, and they did it anyway, which makes it worse. Oprah was supposed to be so we could hear the story from them. Her first podcast was Get to Know the Real Meghan. Everything she does is to hear her story from her for years and years. She lives her life trying to tell her story. Exactly a huge problem with Meghan. And why people are losing interest in her and just constantly find her annoying and unlikable, because it's like, dude, you've already done this. Stop talking about yourself all the time. You've done this a million times. It's time to move on. Look outward. Something new, something different. No one is that interesting. Nobody. Did she actually say, "We all know mom's gossip"? She's creating harmful archetypes there. Very good point. And I agree. That was a weird comment. We all know mom's gossip. Oh, do we now? Do we? So what do you gossip about, Meghan? And you think they're just gossiping about you all the time? Very telling, her perspective on other people as compared to how she views herself. Nomi says, appreciate your take on the trad wife stereotype, the oxymoron that is a relatable duchess, and so much more in the video. I wish someone had taught Meghan it's better to just be authentic and let the chips fall where they may, rather than always trying to convince people of authenticity. That's exactly what authenticity is this is me, and this is me being genuine, and whether you like it or not, that's totally up to you, and has nothing to do with me. Trying to constantly convince people that this is the real you and you're being authentic and you should like them because of that is a red flag for people and turns people off, because it's like, wait, why are you trying to get me on your side so much? Why are you trying to gain this false rapport and trust with me? Why are you trying to convince me that this is who you are? If it were, that's for me to decide whether you're being authentic or not and make judgments on you based on that. So it's really sabotaging herself by constantly fixating on this, because it only almost subconsciously raises our eyebrows and wait a second, can we actually trust this person? Why are they working so hard to try to convince me of something, of anything? She'd be so much more likable if she quit trying to tell her story, be a role model, and just go on with some actual work that benefited those with less privilege than herself, or even just quietly enjoyed her wealth without acting like she is some impossible blend of power player, humble saint, selfless genius in every arena of life. Well said. I guess Never Complain, Never Explain would show way more about her than these constant interviews. Imagine a world where they would quietly support charities and good causes. I would love that way more than the Netflix shows. Honestly, I'm really tired of her. I feel like the gifts are to force the guests to compliment her right off the bat. It's for people to make a big obligatory deal out of her awesome talents. Excellent observation, Cassandra. I think that makes excellent sense. It's kind of like love bombing. It's kind of like, here's something that you can say nice about me. It makes sense. Cynthia says there's some pretty dodgy logic on display here. No, her friends do not have to look at or read anything about her. Her children do not have to see magazines. Also, under a landscape, is this a newly minted expression, or is Meghan serving more word salad? She is not at all the clear communicator she seems to believe that she is. Sorting out her baffle cab is tiresome. I just watched 5 minutes of the episode with Jay and his wife making soap. Notice most things she's doing she admits she never did before, but yet she has this fabulous craft barn. It all makes me crazy, especially how she speaks or when she closes her eyes and pauses when responding to someone. She really likes to marinate on answers about herself or talking about herself. She always holds a little pause to prime the person to receive more information about Meghan. Thank you for joining me for today's video. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!